Welcome to Leave It Better. My dad says every person we meet leaves a mark on our lives, and every choice we make can leave a mark on the world. This is a space for hope, for love, and for stories that remind us we are all connected. So take a deep breath and let's leave it better together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Leave It Better podcast. We're on episode number, I think four, no, three, four. I don't know. I can't
Three.
remember. Three. I see. Look, this is why you got to have good guests, right? So you have to remind me what episode number I was. So, episode number three, we have Dr. Nadira Ramcharan, right? Doctor. I want to
Yes.
say doctor because I knew her
Thank you.
before she was a doctor. So that
Mhm.
shows you how long the journey I've been with her. I just want to tell you how I met her. I met her during a Game Changers event
Mhm.
by Devin Banderson, amazing coach. Coach both of us, continues to coach me as
Mhm.
well. And
Awesome.
I got to know her then, and we've been cool ever since. Like they put us, me, her, and I forgot how many other people in the group after the Game Changers, and we had to coach each other and do a bunch of
Mhm.
things, which was great. And we leaned on each other as well on some coaching stuff. I
Yep.
coached her, she coached me, and it's a pleasure to have you, Dr. Nadira. I got to remember to say that you've earned that, so very important because I'm more on the personal side, right? So I'm leaning into like, oh,
Yeah, I get
but
it.
you are a doctor and you deserve that acknowledgement.
Well, thank you so much. I have really appreciated just like how we've connected through the years and in different ways. I remember when you started a merch business and I still have those shirts. And I'm like, okay, I think I need to get a different size.
That
Because
was a couple years ago,
I
yeah.
bought a bigger size a long time ago. And one of those shirts that I like absolutely love the saying, and it has I think it's called either love me or leave me alone.
Yes, that is one of
And
my
that's like one
favorites.
of my favorite t-shirts.
Yes.
So I definitely need a new one.
All right, I
If you're
got
still
you.
making those shirts.
I'm still doing them. I'm still doing it. Yep.
And it's also been so wonderful to see your growth and all the things that you're doing in the world and, to be in the background cheering you on. And so it's been great to just like connect, get to know you, and hear more about what you're also up to.
I appreciate that. That's awesome. But the spotlight is on you today. We want to talk about you and, the great things that you've done and the same,
Mhm.
like just watching your growth and from not being a doctor, right? And watching the steps that you've
Mhm.
done, creating the businesses, the coaching, everything that you've done. So tell people a little bit about you and your personal journey.
Yep. So currently I am a consultant. I run a consulting firm providing fractional HR and operations management services to many different types of organizations and also creating and implementing leadership development and career readiness programs. And a lot of the work is really grounded in helping people to, one, develop systems, structures, processes, and doing it in like such a human way,
Mhm.
right? I think a lot of times people think of HR and they're like, oh, kind of scary.
Right,
But
right.
I always think about like, how do I bring the humanness into human resources? And so, I mean, I'm not always perfect at that, but I do try every day to one, work on my own like growth and personal development, and also apply some of those practices that I'm learning through my own like self awareness and where I'm seeing it in other places. So it's been really great as a consultant to work with different people and organizations because I can share those practices and also support organizations with like their own growth and sustainability.
Nice. So how did you get into that? Like what leaned you into human resources and building that consulting?
Yep. So at my last full-time job, I was managing HR, operations, finance. And I think after a while, I was there for about almost 2 years. And I thought to myself, I don't want to just be doing this for one organization,
Mhm.
right? But then you get to see, or for me, I was like feeling stuck in like these
Mm,
systems, right? Like one, not making as much as I wanted to make, even having to like submit PTO requests
right.
like way in advance, or not being able to travel, not having flexibility. And so I just wanted like freedom. Like I felt
Mhm.
like there was something inside of me that knew that I wanted to do more and that I had the ability to do that. And I knew that I have like gifts and skills and knowledge that I wanted to like just expand on and do more of. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna quit my job and I'm just gonna try to figure it out
Wow.
and, leave it up to God and to universe. I know that, they're always gonna take care of me and there's always gonna be a path forward. And at the time, my expenses were not as much as they are now. So I was
Okay.
able to like save 6 months worth of funds to like cover my expenses. And let me tell you, sometimes when you surrender and you just
Mm,
like, that you're a good person, that you want to do good, you have good intentions, you know what your purpose is, and you're clear about the things that you want to do and what you can offer. I started just like people started finding me out of
mm,
like nowhere. And I got referrals. And my best friends have been such a huge part of what I've been able to accomplish over the years because every connection they've made, every thought partnership session they've had with me has really helped me to expand. And so I took a leap of faith, yes. And because I'm like, these are the things that I want to focus on. And it's okay, like, especially when you're like starting and growing a business, to focus on like more than one thing,
right.
right? Sometimes doing one thing at a time is great. But if you're trying to kind of test the waters, see what works, it's okay to try multiple different things, right? Or offerings. So I think one, and also getting really uncomfortable with
Mhm,
putting my you know, I think leaping out of like the
right.
uncomfort, right? Or like being okay with being uncomfortable. So for me, like I'm such an introvert and knowing that I have to like actually talk to people about myself
Right.
and about what I want to do and even asking people for money was like a big thing, right? When I like made my first like I don't know, $100, I was like, "Oh, this is great." And now I have to ask for more.
More money, right. Give me more, right.
But I think that once people see like your value, but
Right.
you also have to recognize like what your value is, right? And having a strong belief in yourself is really important to like success and growth. And so I think that's a lot of like how like what I ground myself in my business and like day to day and just knowing that like I know what my worth is. I know what my boundaries are. I can set those boundaries personally and professionally and just keep going, just do the thing that has to get done.
No, and it's been a pleasure to watch that, and I've seen you do that, and that's why I named it Leading with Purpose because I felt that what you have always done is led with a purpose, right?
Mhm.
But I'm going to circle back just a little bit in your conversation where you said you took a leap of faith, which a lot of people do, right? But I want to go into really like your planning, right? Because you took a leap of faith, but I felt like you thought that part out, right? Like, I'm going to do
Yeah.
this. So, what was your thought process coming to that leap of faith, and how did you build a plan towards that?
Mhm. I'm such a planner. Like, I am, like, planning for today, tomorrow, next
Right.
month, next year, 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Hmm.
And I thought about, like, okay, so what are some of the needs that are gonna come up for me, right? Of course, around, like, finances, like, time, and what are some of the things that I wanna feel, right? I wanted to have, like, more time with my son. I wanted to, like, be able to pick him up from school and not feel, like, rushed,
Right.
and so thinking about all the different things that are happening, like, in life, in, like, my personal life, I had to, like, plan around those things because not bringing in the same income
Hmm.
for 6 months or so would have an impact on my family. I wouldn't be able to get to do the things that I wanted to do that I, once was able to. So for me, it's like I'm a very like structure and like system
Right.
thinker
Hmm.
and also really organized. And so I thought about what are the things that I want to be doing in business, right? Wrote down the services, who is like the target like audience or demographics or population or communities. Wrote down a plan. So who are the people that I want to be working with? How much do I want to be making? What are even like the expenses in my
Mm,
business, right? Thinking about like all the nitty-gritty things and also like what is my mission?
right.
What am I going to put out there? What are the tools or the resources that I need? So I spent some time doing that. I also spent time like planning out my own personal goals, right? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Where do I see myself in 10 years? And what is like the legacy and the impact? So it's like really great to attend those game
Oh,
changer
yes.
workshops because
Yes. He's going to be a guest. I think, either next episode or
I
after
love
that.
that. I can't wait to see that one. And I think the game changer is actually
Is
happening
this
this
weekend.
weekend.
Yes. Ironically, and I did not know. I just happened to fall on the same weekend.
So planning just like on the business side, right? Because in order for a business to be sustainable, one, you got to have a good plan, you got to have a solid plan in place. And you also have to think about what are the offerings that you can provide to a customer or a client that is going to provide like true value, right? So,
Right.
like, what's the value proposition? And then, on the personal side, again, just planning personal expenses. What are some of the needs that are going to come up? And I would recommend just like writing it all down, right? Like
Mhm.
not typing it on a Word document, like none of that. Just, or use a whiteboard or post it notes and just stick them everywhere. I think those are like the two areas that I like really honed in on. And I think just also understanding like what is the impact on like yourself, right? Like
Right.
how much time do you want to be spending and investing in yourself and also what you wanna create and do more of.
No, I love that. I love that. For all my listeners, what I really want you to really pay attention to is that um faith and prayer without preparation is just a dream, right? So for me, it's always like being intentional about what that looks like for you, and that's what you spoke on. I think that's super important because a lot of people like, yeah, I'm leading on faith. I'm going to jump on faith. Okay, but how did you prepare, right? Like, how did you get to
Yeah,
this point, right? Because then when it doesn't happen, you're blaming something else where you
exactly.
also have to put in some type of work. It's just not going to magically happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for, like, circling back to that because I feel like faith is something that really, like, grounds me
Hmm.
every single day, right? Like, even recently, I've been in such a funk and I've allowed myself to feel it
Right.
because I'm not someone who's, like, super emotional.
Hmm. Right.
And, that's also one of the challenges that I've, like, been facing in my work too, like, even working as, like, a human resources consultant and just, like, in life in general. It's, like, trying to find the balance between, like, humanness and, like, being very direct. But going back to the faith piece is and being grounded is, like, understanding that there's, like, something larger is at work, right? Something larger is at play here, and trusting and surrendering into that energy and using that. I mean, we all have to still do the work, right? We have
Right.
to put in the work, but then also trust that once we know what our intentions are, we know that it's going to come back to us, right? And it may not come back to us right away. And I know for me, sometimes I can be impatient and I want things to happen, like
Same here.
today, but knowing that everything truly does happen in like divine timing. Like
Great.
I'm a very big believer in that. Um, and then I think this is also like one of the questions that you had shared with me is just around like the challenges.
Yeah.
And as I was like reflecting on that, I'm like, who's the person like in front of me, right? What are their needs? What are their emotions? What are their feelings? What are their thoughts? And while sometimes it's hard to like meet everyone's
Hmm.
needs and like where they're at, especially in my work, it's like, how do I approach this with like kindness,
Right.
right? Like, how do I understand who they are? What do they need? What are they struggling with? Um, and I think that also just goes to the piece of like equity and accessibility and accommodations. And these are all things that are always on my mind. And there are some times where I have to have tough conversations
Right.
and I want to be very direct and just say the thing because sometimes I just don't have a filter and it's hard to filter myself. But I had to like take a step back, like, okay, like I don't want to rush through this conversation.
Hmm.
I want to be, kind. And also, I think it's like Brene Brown who said,
I love Running Brown.
clear is kind.
I
Is that?
think so.
Yeah, I think she said
She's
clear
great.
is kind. And so for me, it's like sometimes I struggle with like being super clear, so I end up overthinking.
Hmm.
But I think just as you think about like what is your approach? For me, I always try to be as kind as possible.
Yes. Same here. And I think that's another reason why we connected. Like you were always kind, always had an air, coachable, right? Because you were able to like
Mhm.
make yourself vulnerable and just listen and say, wow,
Mhm.
that's some good points and vice versa, right? And
Yeah.
so who do you lean on in those times, right? Like when you're feeling and you're struggling, right? Do you have a support system or are you just like figuring out yourself?
Just winging it.
Yeah.
I have a very, very strong support system. I am like so grateful for my best friends, and no matter the time of day, I know that I can just like call them and I can just be myself and I can
Right.
say whatever it is, no matter how messed up it is or how negative it can come off, but just like letting it out, because I feel so safe with
Right.
them, so supported. And they're also going to be like, listen, they're gonna give me a lot of real talk. I'm like, "Oh, actually, why did I call you? Because
That's
this is
exactly
not
why
what
you
I
called them
wanted to
though, right?
hear." Right,
Right? You knew
exactly.
what you were getting with them, and that's important, man. I think it's so important to have a strong circle of friends that care
Mhm.
about you enough to tell you what's wrong, right? You have a lot of people
Yeah.
that'll just say, "Yes, yeah, yeah, that's great, yeah, yeah, yeah." But the friends that'll tell you, "You were kinda wrong in that area, you gotta fix that,"
Yeah.
right? Those are so, so important, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And I think having a strong support system is really important to get through like life,
Yeah.
right? And also for me, like I want to be a strong support
Mhm.
system or person for others as well. And I think showing up authentically and just as myself helps to like create a space to do that for others.
Right. No, that's amazing. So on your journey to creating these businesses and everything else, like what was what were some key moments where you were like maybe doubted yourself, right? And like, is this the right move? And then how did you pull yourself out of that?
Yeah. I do
You
that all
said,
the
wait a
time.
minute, did I hit a nerve there? I'm not sure. You said, wait a minute.
Turn this off.
Right.
Turn it
Let's have
off.
a different coaching
I
conversation.
don't like this. um I think self-doubt always comes up, and I feel like that's part of like ego, right? So
Yes.
when things are going really well, ego might slip in and be like, but what if this happens,
Mhm.
right? Or what if that happens? Or I don't think you're good enough to
Right.
like do more, do better, right? Ego never wants to see you do well. And when you're not doing well, ego's gonna be like, yes, you're you're messing it all up, right?
Uh-huh.
You're not good enough. It's gonna like hype you up when you're not doing well.
Hmm.
And so I think understanding the difference between like ego and like your soul self
Mm,
and like you at the core, at the soul level. And so I've been learning to like differentiate between the two, and like I know when like ego is showing up and it's
right.
like, hey girl, these are the stories that we're going to keep repeating in our minds that are not
Hmm.
going to serve you. But then also going back to like, what does my highest and best self want for me? Right. And like tapping more into that. And that's not to say like I'm not perfect. Like I go through self doubt. I go through like moments where I'm like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this thing or if this is probably not going to work out. And then I start overthinking because, as I said in the beginning, I'm like a huge overthinker and I replay things in my mind. And like, there's just like situations that are never going to happen that like come to mind. But I'm, again, trying to always plan for the next
Hmm.
thing. But self doubt is so real. And I think if you stay stuck in that self doubt, the things that you don't want are going to happen. And so I've had to like try to just reframe all of my thoughts around like, what are things that I want to happen and what can I get my energy behind?
Right. No, and that's great because at the end of the day, right, the mind is the most powerful tool, right? We all know how
Mhm.
powerful that thing is, right? And self-doubt, it's very easy to live in that space, right? To just, I'm
Mhm.
just going to wallow in this and this is where I'm going to be.
Yep.
It's harder to pull yourself out and say, I'm going to do better. This is the plan to move forward because just like self-doubt works, flip side works. Like, so what if it works out? Like, what if you start asking
Right.
yourself that question? Like, oh, this is not going to work. What if it does work out in your favor,
Exactly.
right? And it can. So I think, really training your mind, like you said, to, say the right things, talk about yourself the right way, right?
Yep.
how we serve other people, like how we showing up, like all
Mhm.
those things matter, and that's what helps fill us up and be the type of people that we want to be. So I agree with what you're saying there. Great thought on that.
Yeah. You know what also makes me think of, and I think I like wrote down this in my notes because I was like preparing
Yeah, see,
for
yeah.
this.
Listen, it's on my little phone for my questions because I can't remember everything, especially the it's not happening.
There was a question about like, well, what does leading with purpose mean, right? And the first thing that came to mind was like self-love.
Mm,
And I remember being at a leadership retreat at the end of May,
Mhm.
and there was conversations about like how do we get staff to be more invested in their work, be more present, like really show up. And the question that I had asked at, during those discussions was like, how much do you love yourself to give yourself or like show up at 1% each day? Like how much do you love yourself every day? And I think starting from that, like one helps with like dealing with like that self-doubt, but also living in your purpose, right? We each have a purpose. We may or may not be super clear about it, but what's the thing that like really gets you out of bed? What's the thing that like makes you smile just kind of effortless
Mhm.
or like get the work done effortlessly? And it's not going to be great every day. Like, there's always going to be sunshine, there's always going to be rain, there's going to be storms and like all the things. But what gets you to do that little thing,
Yes.
even if it's like checking an email or like sending a document, but you're doing it because it's like, that it's something that like you want to be doing, right? Like not should be doing or could be doing, but you're like actually doing it. And the other thing that came to mind was like, we're all here temporarily, right? Like, so grounding, ourselves in that, like, we're just passing through.
That's it.
We're going to come through, we're going to do the thing, and then we're going to leave.
No, you're
And what are
right.
we leaving behind?
Absolutely right.
What are we leaving behind? What do we want to be known for? Our children or our families who live, beyond our years, like what are they going to say about us, right? Like what are the things they're going to read about us? So I think keeping that in mind helps me to like one, keep going and knowing that like this is real, like this is really going to happen. So, what do you do? What do you do with that? It sounds kind of morbid, but I'm like,
No, but
listen,
it's
if
true.
that's the
It's
thing.
true. Now, because as I've gotten older, I think about that more, right? And that was really what birthed the Leave It Better thing for me. It was just like, okay, what am I
Mm,
leaving for my kids other than, I mean, obviously material stuff, things like that,
mhm.
and hopefully wisdom that I've imparted. But I wanted to leave something that lives way beyond my years, right? So if they want to pull up the
Mhm.
podcast and see my face and hear my voice, or hear
Yeah.
some stuff that we talked about, they can do that, right? Because I'm not going to be
Yeah.
here forever, like you said.
Mm,
And it
yeah.
is morbid, but it's the reality of life, right? It's the circle of life. That's just what it is. So you got to give it your best effort. You got to live it the best way possible. And like you said, just really just pouring into yourself and doing the thing, right? Just going out,
Mhm.
doing the thing that serves you and gives you purpose. So leaning into that
Yeah.
purpose, right? Is your purpose, has it changed from when you first started? Like, does it still align from when you, said, I'm going to do this thing? Did it elevate
Yeah.
to something else? Or has it kind of been, this is what I wanted to do all my life?
Yeah, it's something that I wanted to do all my life.
Awesome.
I knew ever since I was a child, I wanted to like help people.
Ah, okay.
I didn't know how, like, I first wanted to be like a teacher, and then I wanted
Right.
to like maybe be a lawyer, or like I wanted, like, I don't know, it's something about like teaching and like learning and like, I don't know, just helping people like to move from like where they are now to like where they want to be. And that was something that was always on my mind. And initially, I remember like in my early to mid 20s, I was like, I want to be a social worker because I want to help people. And then I was like, actually, I think I can help people in a different way. So, and when a few of my friends started coming to me about like, well, you're organized, you're smart, and I trust you. Can you help me like write a business plan? I
Oh,
was like, I have no idea how to write a business plan, but okay, we're gonna do it.
right.
So I think through that work and seeing like that impact, and those folks still have their businesses, and they always refer back to like that first business plan
Wow.
that we created together, and just seeing them flourish and like do well and expand and do different things in this world. For me, I'm like, I want to help people, and I want to help people get clear on what it is that they want to do
Hmm.
and have a plan, feel organized, and also feel like they can create freedom for themselves,
Right.
right? Like whatever freedom looks like for them. And each person's definition of freedom is very different, but also meeting them where they're at, but also pushing them to like get past whatever is like making them feel
Hmm.
uncomfortable or making them feel like they can't do it
Right.
or it might be too big. And so I'm like, listen, think of the biggest vision for yourself and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna get there.
No, I love it. And I talked about that in episode one because Jameis Winston, who is a quarterback for the Giants right now, he was
Mhm.
interviewed on the Pivot podcast. And one of the things he said is that I just didn't dream big enough. And he said a lot of times we don't dream
Mhm.
big enough. His dream was always to just make it to the NFL. And he did. But then it stopped there, right? Like there was so much more
Yeah.
he could have done in the NFL. And he didn't,
Mhm.
and he realized like I should have dreamed bigger, Super Bowl wins, like all the stuff that comes with it, right?
Mhm.
And I think that those circles back to being intentional and planning on what that looks like for you and what life
Mhm.
you want to create, right? Which is what you
Yep.
touched on. So excellent. One other thing you said that I want you to talk about a little bit more is the 1%, right? 'Cause I live by that rule too. So explain
Yeah.
to people that don't know about it, like what does that mean for you?
Yep. So 1% is, sometimes, so I'll start by sharing this, is like when we have a lot on our plate, right? Or we have a lot of ideas, we want to do it all,
Hmm.
right? And we think that we have to like, you know, stay up until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, look, I've done it. Listen, I've done a lot of a lot of late nights. Um, but I think the thought of like, I have to do all of this today is one exhausting,
Hmm.
right, in itself. And I think that also if we don't meet that 100% by the end of the day, we're like, oh my goodness, like I'm such a failure,
Right.
or I could have done this differently. I could have, moved this thing around, or whatever the story is. So the 1% is like, what is the one thing that I can do today that can lead me to get to my 100%?
Yep.
And it could be that like you go from like 1% in the morning to 100%
Hmm.
by the end of the day. So it's like what is like building blocks, right? You stack one, then you're like, actually, I think you could hold another block. So then you put another one, and then you put another, and you build. So you build from that 1%, and you're like, okay, the one thing that I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna have breakfast, right?
Hmm.
And then after you have breakfast, you're like, I got this.
Right.
Like,
Ready to go.
exactly. Like, I have energy. I, may have like reflected on some things while I was having breakfast. So maybe you got an idea while you were having
Hmm.
breakfast. So that 1%, I think, makes a big difference in like your day. And also knowing that it's okay if you can't give 1%. Like, what's, half of half
Right.
of that,
Whatever
right?
happens.
Like what's whatever
Right.
whatever that
Whatever
is,
that
right?
is, right? Just show up, right? I think that's the message. Show up. Show up for yourself.
Exactly. And also, there may be different areas of your life where you have to give 1%, right? So
Right.
you're like, I got to give 1% to work. I give 1% to my child or family. I got to give 1% to a partner or a spouse, right? So that's 3%,
Right.
3% for the day. But understanding that like each of those 1% will require a different way that you show up, right?
Yeah.
So it could be just like at work, um, coming in even with a smile on your face
Hmm.
or checking an email, right? Like what is the thing that you're gonna do that's gonna one be consistent? And I think consistency is very
Yes.
important, but also give yourself grace when you can't be consistent.
Absolutely.
And when you're not able to be consistent, communicate that to other people,
Yes.
right? Like let people know where you're at
Hmm.
and it's okay. So I think that 1% rule is like very important. Like,
It's
what's
been
your one thing? And um, I think also when people know your intention, and even if you're showing up at that 1%, they're like, actually, this person is amazing, or we
right.
know what they're able to do. And if they can give 1%, then we can give them some grace, or we can ask, like, how can we support? And you've been asking for that support too, right? A lot of us like myself, don't always ask
Hmm.
for help. And because it's sometimes difficult, we think we can do it all. But if you need help getting to that 2%, you ask for
You
that
gotta
help.
ask for that help, right? Exactly. And you said another important thing is giving each other grace, right? Because we all have good and bad days. Energy levels are high, sometimes low,
Mm.
sometimes in between, right? But it's just giving each other grace and helping each other out. And I think for me, what
Yeah.
solidified the 1% for me more is I read the book Atomic Habits.
I read that one too.
Yeah, it really drills more into that. And it's like, yeah, this is what I should be doing, right? And it's like if you're starting to work out and like, oh, I'm not going to do it at all, right? So you rather just not do the workout or give yourself 15
Right.
minutes, right? So if you go 15 minutes every day, trust me, it's going to make a difference. It'll take longer,
Mhm.
but you're showing up for yourself in a consistent way, like you said, just being consistent.
I appreciate you, like, sharing that example because I think time is another thing that, like, gets in the way, right,
Hmm.
of, like, our 1%. We think that something like, we need to spend 15 minutes working out, right? Or, like, 30 minutes
Right.
working out, but actually, if you put in that 15 minutes every day, it does make a difference.
Yep.
It takes a little bit longer to get to your goal, but at least you're still putting in the work and you can still see results over time.
Right.
And, I think also just, like, with time, sometimes we think that something's gonna take longer
Hmm.
to do, right? But it's like, how do you just get the thing done without thinking about the time, right? Like, you just do. Like, just do the thing,
Yes.
and which is often something that I'm gonna just always telling myself, is like, "Do the thing without distractions." Even if you have to, like, set a timer, but sometimes we overthink these things,
Hmm.
right? Like, we think, "Oh my goodness, like, I gotta go through my inbox, it's gonna take me forever," and actually, it's not because you already spending so much time thinking that you're not
Yep.
doing.
Yep. Yep. You're already talking yourself out of it. That's why,
Exactly.
like you said earlier, like your mental state and how you talk to yourself and how you talk about yourself and how you pull yourself
Yeah,
out is super important because we can live in those negative spaces
absolutely.
forever. So what
Yeah.
else is going on in your world as far as like business wise? I did see, I think something you were selected to do something with Forbes.
Oh, yes, on the Forbes Coaches
Yes.
Council, so I'm a member of that group. I haven't, like, engaged too much in it, so I'm trying to get back on
Well,
it.
there you go. Well, this is why we're talking about it, right? Sometimes you need the reminder.
Right, yes, thank you for that. I've also been traveling, as you've seen on
Yes.
Instagram, and everywhere I go, I'm like, I know Dwayne is gonna ask me, "Where you at now?"
Because you know it's so funny when you say like you're an introvert, but like you're totally different when you're traveling, like enjoying herself, having a
This
great
is
time,
true.
which is what
This
you
is
should
so
because
true.
you work very hard, right? So we work hard so
Mhm.
we can have our moments, to do what we want to do and enjoy life.
Right, yeah, and I think that's also part of, like, the freedom, right? It's like, what kind of life do you wanna live?
Mm,
What do you wanna have? What do you wanna experience? I feel like everything in life is an experience, and
yes.
so when you start to, like, create a vision for that and intention, I think that that's where you, like, live more in your purpose, like, you understand, like, we all have gifts, right? And I think that understanding and knowing what those gifts are and, like, leaning into it really helps you to fulfill your purpose, and it also, like, helps you, like, fulfill your vision and,
Hmm.
like, create all the experiences and all the things. It's just going back to that word, like, create. We all have the power to, like, create and to do, but it's like, again, going back to the 1%, like, what's the 1% you can spend creating?
Right. And then I think importantly, like you said as well, is creating what success looks for you, right? For you,
Mhm.
right? And freedom, what it looks like for you, not like what it
Exactly.
looks like for everybody else, right? Because
Right.
what my success
Yes.
and your success looks like could be totally different or it could be on the same plane, right? But I think when you start defining what those things mean to you, what does freedom
Mhm.
mean to you, then it becomes, like you said, your purpose because now you're leaning into the things that are important to you and now you're building towards that, right? And I just had a conversation with a good friend of mine who's actually just like my brother. Yeah, she is my brother. Might as well say it at this point, right? And I was talking to him just about like be intentional about your goals. Like get
Mm.
it out your head. Like write it down, right? And give yourself focus to say, where do I want to be in the next year? What does that
Mm.
look like? How do I create that? Right. And it
Yeah.
goes back to the 1%, right? So you get your goals down. Now I'm building 1% every day towards these goals I'm trying to accomplish next year. And I said, you might fall short, right? But let's say if you
Right.
fall short, but you're at 87%. That's not a failure,
Mhm.
right? I'm still building towards my future, right? So
Exactly.
I think that's super important. And I want everybody to do that. And it becomes like relationships is all like
Mhm.
what it looks like for you, like nobody else. And if you start
Mhm.
defining things on your terms,
Yep.
become a healthier and happier person. When you're chasing what everything else looks like or what the Instagram
Yeah.
stuff looks like, the highlights, then that's when the self-doubt and the
Mhm.
and like, am I not enough? These guys are going here, they're in Bali, they're doing
Right.
this, right? But you might have just went to Florida with your family and had a really great
Right.
time, right? So just figuring out for you, I think is super, super important.
I think, yeah, that's so great. And also, it just made me think as you were speaking, like, what is your story? Right. And I think sometimes we see other people's stories
Yes.
or we hear other people's stories and we kind of subconsciously make it ours. And an example of that is like after I quit my job, I had spoke to like different consultants. I was like networking, getting to know people, what they were doing, how
Mhm.
they were doing it. And everyone was like, summers are so slow,
Yeah.
right? There's really not much going on.
Yep.
People go on
Yep.
vacation,
That's so
picks up
true.
in the fall. And I ended up having a conversation with my current coach. And at that time, we were just like, you know what? I'm going to have busy summers. You know what? I'm never going to have a slow summer. And for like the past 4 summers,
You've been
I've been
busy.
so busy.
See? Intentional. Intentional. You created that.
Yes. So you create those stories, and sometimes those stories are true for people, whoever says those stories or thinks those stories. But I'm like, I don't want to take that on. Like, I don't want that to be me.
That's not what I want.
No, I want to be busy all year.
Yes, ma'am. I want them coins. 'Cause I gotta travel, right? That's what stuff I
The
gotta.
coins and the
Yeah,
dollars.
that's
It's on
it.
my
That and the
phone.
dollars, right? No, awesome,
But it's
awesome.
so easy to like see something or hear something and be like, oh, actually, maybe that is true. But
Right.
our truth is different. We can like create that truth for ourselves and like define what that means for us
Mhm.
and have a whole different experience and outcome. So I think it's really great that you like raise that just around like narratives and stories and even the stories that we like tell ourselves.
Yeah. No, and it's very easy with in this day and age with social media, right? Because it's in our face
Hmm.
every day. And sometimes I'm like, oh God, I want to take a break, right? But I'm also like, oh, I want to see what my friends are doing. Are they doing all right? Because I don't get to talk to everybody every day, right? So it's
Right.
a quick
Yeah.
like outlet to what like people are doing. But you do get caught up in it. And it's very easy, especially if you're in a place
Hmm.
where you're not feeling as good or you're
Exactly.
not feeling successful and you're seeing everybody doing everything that you want to do. But I
Hmm.
think what they don't see is the work that goes behind you being able to do the
Right.
things you get to do. Like, tell me more about that for you, because I feel like people see the polished, you know, Dr. Nadira, and she's doing all these great things, but they don't know the in between story, and I think that's very important that people understand. You didn't just wake up here and build businesses, right? Like,
Dude, I wish.
right. We all
I
wish
wish.
that, right? So what are some of the struggles that you face trying to even just creating a business?
Yeah. One, I struggled with like not being seen as like an expert or feeling like
Yeah.
an expert or like not smart enough. I mean, look, growing up, I failed math and science. I was like so bad, so bad at it. But there were things that I knew that I did well, right? But sometimes, or even like starting a business or even thinking about starting a business, I'm like, am I going to be good enough, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I got stuck in that for a very long time, which was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I think also just like growing up, my parents like had jobs, right? And like my dad, who still works at the same job with same company, it's been 25 years. I'm like,
Wow.
maybe that's what I need to do is
Right.
like stay with one company for the rest of my life, right?
Mhm.
And so you see like just family wise, like what, they're doing and pick up on some of their habits and like routines. And so I can see myself like living that as well. And I think there was just like a lot of times where I'm like, I don't think I can do this.
Right.
Like, I'm not good enough. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've like cried, by myself and in the bathroom and like with my son around. I'm like, listen, I just gotta have a breakdown.
Oh,
Just
man.
go over there. I'm gonna go in the
Yeah,
bathroom.
let
I'm gonna
mommy get it
cry.
together for a little bit, yeah.
Right. And listen, when you're having a breakdown, kids don't care.
No,
Like
no, no,
they
no. It's like, I want the treat though, mommy. Can you get the snack?
yes,
I want
give me the snack.
right,
So you gotta like
right.
wipe your tears, give them the snack, and then get back to it.
Yep, yep. It's like, why is she crying? Like, everything's great. I got cartoons, I got snacks. What's wrong with her?
Right. But there were so many late nights. I mean, I would be up until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning working, get a couple of hours sleep, take my son to school, get back to work. And even when I was like working full time, trying to build this business and being in a doctoral program, I just had to do it. And I just had to like immerse myself in it. And I was so exhausted. Um, didn't have a whole lot of support at home. And it was like, I just got to do this, right? Like, I got to cry it out, I got to thug it out,
Yeah.
just
That's
get the thing done because I'm like, on the other side of this, there is peace, there
mm,
is joy, there is wealth, there is abundance. And while it was hard every day, I mean, I leaned on my support system. I vented, I cried, I did all the things. And even like my weight at that time, right? I was like, emotional eating, like emotional
right.
drinking, like all the
Also
things.
everything.
Yes.
Give you
It
all the
was just
food, all
such
the
a
drink.
terrible time. And I knew that like when I looked at my son, I was just like, just pure joy
Mm.
and happiness. And like the way kids
Oh
are
my
and just
gosh.
how present and just like how just like full of life and laughter. And I mean, there was a lot of tears, but
Yeah.
some of it was dramatic tears. And but you kind of see how they move from like one thing to another,
Mhm.
kind of just like without even thinking, right? And I was like, well, what if I could do some of that? So I started to like, you know, feel and be some of that. And like, what does it mean to like, what is my inner child like, right?
Yeah.
I did a lot of inner child work and I was like, whoa, this is too much.
This is too much.
This is a lot.
Like kids, man, I just and I always say like my last son, Amari, is like he's the gift I didn't know I needed, right? Because he's
It's so
changed me in a
beautiful.
lot of ways. Like my first son, Justin, changed me in a whole lot of ways as well.
Mm,
And we had some really good conversations like that I never got the chance to have with my dad at a age that he
mm,
is right now. So he's shaped
yeah.
me, my daughter shaped me, and he is like I start looking at life through a different lens with him because like you said, it's like he moves on from thing to thing. Like, okay, I cried. Well, okay, let's go.
Right,
Like, all right,
exactly.
but he's also so loving and caring. And like, he just
Mm,
yesterday, he was like, "Oh, daddy," I don't want to say the child's name because I don't want to,
yeah.
take care. And she's like, she was sad because her mom didn't, she wanted her mom, right? So he said,
Uh-huh.
"Daddy, I gave her a hug." I said, "Oh, man, we doing something right. We're doing something right here, right?" That
Mm-hmm.
felt good to me because that means he's coming from a loving environment and we're creating that, right? And going
Yeah.
back to that childlike state, like you said, is just where kids are curious, like
Mm-hmm.
everything is new, right? And it's exciting,
Yep.
right? And that if we
Yep.
all looked at life like that, we would have a better appreciation of the smallest things that we take for granted,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So when I ask you that with everything that you said, what do you want your legacy to be? Like what does that mean to you?
That's a great question. Something that's like always on my mind. But for me, it's helping people to advance,
Mm,
right? In no matter what way that is, whether it is helping them to advance an idea or a thought or a business or just helping them to move forward with
mm-mm,
like clarity, with their own purpose, with their own plan.
right.
And I love when people have like aha moments or we're able to, like, take their vision and just, like, bring it to life. Like,
Right.
that to me is so, so, so exciting. And even if it's just, like, a conversation, like a brainstorming
Mhm.
conversation, just helping people to get, like, the things out.
Yes.
And so, I mean, conversation is, like, so can be so powerful,
Mhm.
right? When it's, one, really meaningful, really intentional, and really engaging. And, I see my legacy as, like, I wanna create a better world for my son, and I know that there's so much that's, like, outside of my
Oh,
control.
yes, you know that.
But what are, like, the tangible things that I can leave for him, right? And what are, like, the values, the principles, the way that he is as a human, and how he, like, will interact with people one day, and how he will, like, live and be independent when I'm, like, no longer here, and,
Right.
um, so it's like, I think, one, making an impact in, like, businesses and people that will, like, outlive me,
Mhm.
right? That people are still gonna be talking about and, like, impacted by many, many years
Yes.
after I'm gone.
Yes. That's awesome. No, I think that's purposeful, right? Living the life of purpose,
Mhm.
which is great. And the last question I have for you is, what does leave it better mean to you?
Well, I think it's connected to, like, what my legacy is, and I think, it's, like, knowing that what I created, that it brings and makes people, like, feel happier, more at ease, lighter, and also knowing that I'll be a good ancestor one day.
Nice. Right. Right. But look back and be like, yeah, she definitely left some gems for us, right?
Right, exactly.
Nah, that's awesome. So before I let you go, I want you to talk about how people can get in contact with you, like, your business, and things like that. So, might get a couple more clients, who knows?
Never
Know who's
know.
watching.
Exactly. And universe is always listening.
Yes.
So folks can get in touch with me on Instagram, NRNY Consulting LLC, or via my website, nrnyconsulting.com, and or by email, nadira.ramcharan at nrnyconsulting.com.
Yes, yes. Dr. Ramtran, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
giving me the privilege of your time. And I thank everybody at the end of that, because I feel like your time is your most valuable asset. So when anyone says, yes, I'm going to do the interview and sit down with you and talk for, 30, 40 minutes, I don't take that for granted. So thank you so much for giving me your time and grace me with.
And thank you. Like you're doing your thing, you're doing big things. And like I love, always your ideas and always happy to like connect and like support in any way possible. So, keep me posted, keep
Of
me looped
course.
in.
Of course. Yeah, because I feel like there's more to do, right? And even my last
Hmm.
interview, I talked about that, connecting with her as well. Like it's just so much more to
Hmm.
do, and you can get further together than by yourself. And for me,
Completely
I'm
agree.
starting to learn that, because I'm like you, where yeah, I'm just gonna get it done. I'll do this. I'll put the website up. I'll do that. It was like,
Hmm.
wait, this is a whole lot of work, right?
Right.
But leaning more into the people that are already doing the thing, right? And leaning
Mm,
more to that, and working with other people, especially good people, like with good hearts that care about what they're doing.
yeah.
And that's why I wanted to do this Leave It Better podcast, like to highlight everyday people that are
Mm,
doing really good things for other
yeah.
people and showing up in the right way for themselves.
That's so awesome. Well, thanks for creating this. And I'm looking forward to like seeing more and, seeing what else you create.
Thank you so much. And as I say at the end of every episode, when you leave, please leave it better. Later. Thank you for listening to Leave It Better. I'm Dwain Daniels, and my hope is that today's conversation gave you a little more peace, a little more hope, and a reminder that how we show up still matters. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need it. And remember, when you leave, leave it better.